following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Michael Parsons! Woo!
And now, your hosts, Brian Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kyle Yeomans, and David Hellman.
It is Tuesday, April the 12th, 2022. The 2022 NFL Draft is just more than 2 weeks away. Hello, welcome. The big voice guy said it all, and we're all here today.
How about that?
All four of us back in action as we tick closer to the draft. It felt like it would never get here. Now it feels like it's way too close, to be honest with you. That's where I want to start today. We are in the height of lying season right now. Like, this is the time of year where I think you've for the most part, you've done what you can do. The hay might not be in the barn, but like you know the talking points, you know the players, and now there's just a whole bunch of smoke messing up the top of the draft. And in a year where there's not a slam dunk number one prospect or a generational quarterback, I think it's even more confusing. First of all, like, would y'all agree with that?
Yeah. I don't, the thing that, and we were talking about it here in a little bit pre-show, was the doubt you have on certain players. You're now having to fight for guys against a room that might not believe what you're thinking. And that's the biggest problem that scouts are dealing with right now is, you love it when you start to present a report and you're trying to get that tag on the board or get it in the stack, and you're fighting for a player and you got guys that are going with you on that. That makes your job a heck of a lot easier. But there's some of these players on this board, and I think it's because of the inconsistency of a lot of these guys, that trying to get them right is the big struggle right now.
Which you're totally right. And we said this before the show. Like, I completely understand how the groupthink and echo chamber mentality happens, because it's got to be scary as hell, especially like if we miss on a guy, what are you going to do? But if
they'll let you know. Well, fans will let you know.
But are you going to
hear it for a couple years?
Are you going to get fired if Laquan Treadwell turns out to not be a great player? No.
Oops.
You're going to move on. Us.
Talk
about us.
Yeah, I got fired.
That's the no, you didn't.
No.
That is the terrifying thing for the people that do this professionally. If you've got a 2 on a guy, and the rest of the room has a 5 on a guy, and it's your livelihood on the line, that sounds absolutely terrifying. So I understand how these grades sort of gravitate toward a mean where they kind of agree with each other.
Well, what's going to happen is interesting. Take example Walker for Georgia. The media scouts have got this thing just pumped up. And I'm not talking about just us media scouts. I'm talking like Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks. Guys who were professional scouts in the business are now pumping air into a guy. Jeff comes on here and is talking about, listen, we had a mock draft situation where this guy was our pick, and all of a sudden now he's 16, and now he's 2. And then I agree with him. There's 4 or 5 guys that I might think that might be a better rushers than him. That's the scary thing right now.
I love the way that you can read my mind, because I didn't send you a rundown today.
Nope.
But that's exactly what I want to talk about. I brainstormed this idea with Jeff. Credit to you, Jeffrey.
I had some Miller Lite.
I think there are 5 or 6.
And some chips, probably.
Yeah, always. I think there are 5 or 6 names I just want to go over in terms of like, what are we missing?
Yeah.
What are we not talking about? And Trayvon Walker is chief among them, because in the span of a month, he, like you just said, he's being mocked as the number 1 overall pick a month after being a top 15 guy.
Yeah.
So what's the deal here? And without trying to let other narratives influence you, what is your opinion of him?
Oh, I can get to the notes, because the notes aren't going to say top 5 player. Hold on, it's Quay Walker. That's different. Here we go. I saw Trayvon Walker as a guy that you could tell was, for his size, like full-size defensive end, you went, oh, wow, really good athlete. Like, I'm watching this guy drop in coverage and then change direction to go make a tackle. And, like, you can see that it's a big dude that's a really good athlete. I wrote that he moves like he's 240 pounds, even though he's 275. But I also wrote, my question is, how good of a pass rusher is he? Doesn't look all that bendy, doesn't have an array of pass rush moves yet. Good linear athlete with power. Now, linear athlete was disproven by his athletic testing. He's clearly athletic enough to do whatever you want. But I think on tape, Trayvon Walker is like the 10th best pass rusher in this class, maybe 15th. So I do think you're projecting his athletic traits to translate in the NFL with coaching into a really good pass rusher, because he was not that in college. If you're into the nerd stuff, his pass rush win rate was like half of that of the other top edge prospects.
Yeah, in a really clear understanding of this is how Georgia played him. When they went nickel, they put him at nose. They didn't even keep him on the outside, thinking now when you play nose, as a pass rusher, you're having to deal with a center, a couple of guards, that kind of stuff. So to me, they didn't even really keep him on the outside. And to me, I just kind of look at this. I think Jeff's right about this. I mean, I think there's some good workout numbers, but I don't know if it necessarily translates into like the first or second overall pick in this draft. I wouldn't think that he would be the best player in this draft. That I never, when I watched his tape, and this is even before all the athletic numbers, you could watch him against, Arkansas and Clemson and some of these teams, and you're going, well, he's a good player, but is he the first or second overall player? I find the tape doesn't show me that.
I agree with that. And I like him probably a little bit more than most people, I guess, if you're looking at first-round guys. But I still don't have him anywhere near the Aiden Hutchinsons out of Michigan or the Kayvon Thibodeaux in terms of that edge rusher class. I think it's those two guys, a considerable difference, because Walker is that third and fourth guy. He's right there with George Karlaftis because they both have just a little bit of that knock. I don't think Walker's as strong as those guys. I don't think he's as athletic, even though the numbers, like you said, stood up as some of the best numbers in the class. And then I also, on tape, saw inconsistency. He goes up and he tears up Alabama in the national championship game. That's the game that everybody remembers. Then you turn around and you see him kind of struggle a little bit against Kentucky, and he goes up against our guy, second round, Kennard. Yeah. And then we're going to talk about the other offensive tackle.
Left tackle.
Yeah, he had some issues there. And then against Clemson.
Thornton or Thorndale?
From last year?
No, the kid that's
the guy that I watched.
Oh, Rosenthal.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him
yeah,
later.
Yeah,
That's the other guy I was mentioning. Yeah. But he struggles against those guys. He struggles a little bit against Clemson. And so there's that inconsistency that goes along with the very much so enticing pros. There are so many things, little cons that are going to nag at you that I agree with you. I don't think top 2 or top 3 is even remotely close to what this guy's worth.
Jeff kind of touched on this. Can you at least talk yourself into the idea of his potential? Like if he's in the right situation with like a good D-line coach, good, let's say he were to go to Jacksonville where he's got Josh Allen on the other side of the line. Can I sell you on that at all?
He was with the best team in the country. Best defense in the country.
Fair.
I don't think if we're watching a player from Connecticut,
but not all players are finished products, though. I mean,
I don't.
You're buying
to me,
in on the potential.
I think Jeff has said this before. He's not. He doesn't rush as well as Thibodeaux. You can watch the tape and see that, and there you're going, oh, okay, I see it. This, that's a guy to me that I think is going to be, Karlaftis. I have Karlaftis over this guy as a rusher. So, I mean, to me, I kind of feel like, yeah, sure, but this guy also played with the best defense in the country on a national championship team. The defensive coordinator ends up getting a head coaching job at Oregon. I mean, he didn't. It's not like he went to some small school as a head coach.
And he wasn't just doing it by himself. He had all the help in the world around
a lot of players.
There might be 5 first-round picks from Georgia's defense, honestly.
Maybe all in the front 7.
Like Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt. If you get Nakobe Dean,
Walker,
sneak Lewis Seen in there.
Yeah, Seen.
Trayvon Walker, you could go 5.
I think it's at
Quay
least
Walker has a
Quay
chance.
Walker could sneak in there too, for sure. The other one, which I don't think we've spent more than 45 seconds talking about Kayvon Thibodeaux, because it feels like a waste of time on a Cowboys podcast.
He's a stud.
In terms of understanding the first round, I would like to know more just in the sense of, like, if he slips the way people are projecting, is that lying season BS, or at the very least, is it just it's that unknowable off the field rumor crap.
People, yeah, that's the problem. That won't be. I mean, you could watch the tape and clearly see one of the best players in the draft. The problem is, do you like the attitude? Do you want to deal with maybe him being a branding guy? Do you want to, there's all kinds of things that teams will just not. This team here would love him. Mm-hmm. Other teams around the league probably wouldn't love how much he is into that kind of stuff.
Does he need like a clothing line in the pro shop type of guy?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he would have his, and he'd go and model for you probably.
We can make that work.
Well, he reminds me of Khalil Mack. Like, I think that's what you're talking about, where it's not a 270-pound guy.
Yeah.
I was thinking
I have
Myles
258
Garrett.
or whatever, but like he is an absolute handful.
Yep.
Whatever right tackle is unfortunate enough to line up against him.
Yeah.
If he bull rushes you, he's going through you. He can dip. He can generate power from odd angles. Like, Kayvon Thibodeau is a stud. The only thing stopping him from being a top 3 lock is whatever the stuff is that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I have not interviewed him or whatever the background is that's making people go, well, I know football. Yeah. The tape on Kayvon Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker dreams of having that tape.
Part of me believes that it is some of that lying, that smoke kind of thrown out in the world because he's an easy target. Because he has the off-the-field ego. I mean, Dane Brugler said it himself at the Combine. He said, whenever you're pulling up a chair for Kayvon Thibodeau to give him an interview, you have to pull up another chair for the ego. You got to put another one right next to him because there's so much of that carrying over.
I have a professional ego, so.
Hey, and we've got an extra couple chairs in the room.
Yeah, we got chairs.
They're in the room. But with Kayvon Thibodeau, it may just make him that easy target to say, "Hey, we're just not going to let it. We're going to slip. He's going to fall, and then all of a sudden, he's the first or second player taken off the board, and that's exactly where he needs to be whenever his tape is out there." Jeff, is he your top-rated guy?
I have Hutchinson as number 1 because I just think Hutchinson is the safer one.
Pick.
I mean, you combine production with the traits, with the athleticism. Hutchinson is really, really, really good. Thibodeau, I think if you were saying, hey, it's 3rd and 7, which one are you putting in there? And I want to get the quarterback right now.
Give me Thibodeau.
I'd probably go Thibodeau.
Yeah, I have Thibodeau number 1.
Me too.
And it's funny. I go back and I watch. If you want to watch what we were talking about, Saylor, the kid from
Georgia left tackle, the big guard.
All of a sudden he's playing against those Michigan kids, and you're kind of like going, huh? If you want to watch a good tape of him blocking a couple of guys, that gives you a good idea there. I think Jeff's right about this. If you want a guy at 3rd and 7 to get home on a rush, Thibodeau's going to get home. Hey, Hutchinson can get home, but I mean, I think there's a little bit more involved there.
I do wonder too. The draft industry has become year-round. I wonder how much of that plays a role in some of this. I think, and Derek Stingley is working through it too. That's another guy. Derek Stingley and Kayvon Thibodeau have been in the top 10 of mock drafts for like 2 years at this point.
Yeah,
just boredom.
Well, in Stingley now, it's like he's going back up after his pro day. His pro day doesn't move Derek Stingley any way at all. He's the athlete you already knew he was.
I'm not so much thinking about right now, but again, Dane's going to turn around and do a mock draft like 2 days after this draft ends. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago, or excuse me, a year ago, because he was so young. Stingley was in the top 5 of that. Thibodeau, if you follow the draft, has been a name
number 1
people have known forever. And sure, you would prefer a guy to be mature enough to not care about that, but that's probably a hard thing to do. When people tell you from the age of 19 that you're 12 to 24 months removed from being very, very rich, I don't know. That's something that's probably pretty hard to combat against.
We need to get used to this. Because in future draft shows, we're going to talk about kids that had these NIL stuff and making hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars with branding and stuff like that. This is going to be we've had to adjust in the league as evaluators. We've had to adjust to the Kyler Murrays as the first overall picks. So this is only going to change. You better, you sit there and you don't want to take Thibodeau because he's a branding expert or whatever.
It's only going
you're missing out.
Yeah.
Don't let a great player go by because you have this a version of a guy that likes to try and promote himself.
And I do think NFL teams fall into that trap all the time.
We absolutely do.
That is such a good point because you're looking down the line. You're looking at some of these quarterbacks that are getting these deals. I mean, look at Texas and Quinn Ewers. He goes to Ohio State, leaves South Lake Carroll early, and then he goes to Texas. He's going to get massive deals at Texas, and then he'll be a top pick if everything plays out the way that it should. I mean, there are guys like this. Arch Manning The younger Manning that's coming up through the high school ranks is going to be in that regard as well. I mean, there are going to be guys that not only could have those pro shop lines, but already have them in the back pocket.
It's been at least 2 weeks since we've had an argument about Jordan Davis.
Oh, fun.
As we get closer to this thing, and he is, at this point, again, in the eyes of the media machine, is a pretty much consensus top 15 pick. How do you feel about that? And where do you have him pegged?
I'll do it if any of you guys are scared.
I can always count on you for that, Jeff.
Jordan Davis at 360 pounds, tested as the most athletic defensive tackle prospect of all time. He ain't that. On tape, he ain't that.
No.
He's the second or third best defensive tackle on Georgia's roster. He is a space-eating dude that ran a really impressive 40. On tape, I bet you if you count every play he made outside the tackle box, you ain't going to fill a hand.
Yeah.
You won't get to 5. So, he is a really big, really strong run-stuffing guy. But, when I go back to the nose tackle that I want you to be, if you're going to be a top 15 pick, he don't move on a football field like Vita Vea did.
Yeah.
Vita Vea give you some pass rush.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis was a space eater. And if a team thinks that with his measurable athleticism offers the upside to be a top 15 pick, then more power to him. At 24, if the Cowboys took Jordan Davis, depending on who is available, I might go, okay. But I would totally understand a team being like, dude, we're not using a first-round pick on a run stuffer.
Yeah, I got in an argument with, I think, John Owning about this on Twitter, and it was because I was seeing how much nickel does Dan Quinn play?
A lot.
Is this guy going to be on the field as a pass rusher all the time? And no disrespect to John if you're listening, but I just kind of thought, how would you use this guy? Yeah, you would use him early down stuff. Look what they do at Georgia. They take him off the field in some pass rushing situations. Yep. So to me, I agree with Jeff, and I think there's things about him, the athletic stuff. This guy is a freak of nature. Is he Vita Vea? No, he's absolutely not. And on my board, the way he sits, when I put this thing out, you're going to see him. I got him in the second round. Got 21st round grades, and he's not one of my 21st round grades. He's somewhere in that mix. We've talked about him all the time. Somewhere between 24 and maybe 32. Somewhere he's kind of maybe in that spot. But I agree with Jeff on that.
Do you think? Sorry, real quick, Kyle.
I was going to say I kind of disagree.
Okay, well,
I think he is a first round pick, and I get the thought process because at least at Georgia, you look on the film, he didn't pass rush. He didn't get out to the numbers. He didn't go sideline to sideline.
99 left and 88 came in. They played better.
To a certain extent.
But Jalen Carter's going to be a top 10 pick.
I was about to say, Jalen Carter's phenomenal, and so is Devontae Wyatt. He also didn't have to get to the outside a whole lot because he had Nakobe Dean behind him, because he had Trayvon Walker on the outside, because he had Quay Walker coming on the back end as well. He didn't have to do a whole lot of that, so basically his role at Georgia was run stuffing because that was the role that he was kind of pigeonholed into because he was on a defense that's so historic. I think he could bring that to the table. I think I see a little bit of that athleticism when you watch the tape, and there are a couple plays where he does get outside. Like you said, maybe you can't count on one finger. I saw 4, maybe 3, but I only watched 5 games of this guy. So turn around and maybe you put him on a roster and he's able to play 3 downs in the NFL. He shows you something that he didn't necessarily have to show you while he was at Georgia.
I'd rather have Wyatt than him.
He's a good player too.
Yeah, I mean,
Wyatt is
they're both
when people send me mock drafts where Wyatt's the number 24 pick, I get happy for those people. I think those people get it. I really do. Give me the disruptive 3 technique.
I think he's going to be an Eagle.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be here though because
one of them.
They've spent so much on 3 techniques in each of the last 4
Oh no,
drafts.
I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm not talking about here. I'm just talking about as a player. I'm talking about as a player. I think the team that selects him when they do, I'm going to be that team. I think gets it.
Pick. It'll be the Ravens.
I think the team will get it.
Real quick, when you see a Trayvon Walker climb to number 1 overall, like when a Daniel Jeremiah puts him up there, we kind of sit there and say somebody who knows stuff is telling him this.
Well,
that is
that's the problem.
Not to take anything away from his scouting ability.
No,
but
it scares you.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
scares you. When all of a sudden when you sit there and you don't particularly like somebody, and then all of a sudden it's pumped up by 3 or 4 different guys. That's a scary thought. And
Mac Jones.
Yeah, we all don't want to be on that island. But we'll die on that island if we have to. I mean, there's like I say, hey, this is what I saw. And some days somebody will say, "Oh, you were wrong about that guy." Fine, I was wrong about that guy, but how about the other guys I was right about that
Well,
you
if you
didn't
want to
like?
be right, just predict failure on all of them. You'll get a lot of it right.
Yeah.
That's
You're going to be a
fun.
better percentage.
Yeah.
But
You're right
I
on
think
80% of the
I
picks.
can't. It's funny this whole thing with Walker. When we first started this process, Walker was a popular mock pick to Dallas at 24.
Yeah.
Now
And
he's
then,
number one.
and then he became a popular mock pick to somebody at 15, and then he became a popular mock pick to the Lions at 2.
Can I add what I believe spurred this? Because last night, Dave and I had a nice romantic dinner.
We did.
And
Watched some Harry
Nick and
Potter.
Sam.
watched some Harry Potter, a couple
Yeah.
of Harry Potters, and I
Dave
believe
make you
this
a
came
steak?
from.
I did.
It goes back to the groupthink thing, because I fall victim to it on accident, and I take pride in watching the
Sure.
tape and putting guys where they belong.
Sure.
But then if you see the entire world is
yeah.
man, this guy is a top 3 whatever in this class, and I'm like, man, I got him in the 5th round.
Go back and watch him.
But I just the other day I went back through all my receiver notes and I was like, no, forget anything, no outside noise. In my notes, how are these wide receivers ranked? And my wide receivers are Garrett Wilson at Ohio State, number 1, Sky Moore at Western Michigan, number 2, George Pickens at Georgia, number 3.
Yeah.
That's my top 3 with no outside noise. And I think it was the kind of groupthink that stopped me for a while from putting George Pickens where me watching his tape said he belongs, which is in the first round. Yeah. And if you just go, hey, I watched him play, how good is he? And would I take him over that guy? My honest answer is, yeah, I would take George Pickens over Traylon Burks, over Jamison Williams, over Drake London, over Chris Olave. So that's one man's opinion, but it goes into that whole deal where it's like groupthink. Forget it. Here's what I saw. These are my guys.
That's your island, and I respect the fact, and that's what you're supposed to do. Is that's you standing on that island, and there are not a whole lot of people that are going to put the Sky Moore up there or George Pickens in the mix with the Olaves and the Londons and the Wilsons. I like that. I think that's a good idea on your side.
I just hope this draft has. I hope it's as wacky as I think it has
will
the
be.
potential to be.
It will be.
going to be.
With the no quarterbacks and then the uncertainty with teams with multiple first-round picks, you might see some people do some crazy things to try and move around and see what they need to do.
Are we sure there's no quarterbacks up there?
Well, you know what? It looks like to me that, I know my personal board, Corral is the only first-round quarterback that I have. And
Agreed.
then Willis is the next one, and Pickett and all those other guys.
I
But
just think Willis's potential is too enticing.
I think
no,
he's up there.
No, absolutely. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to pick a quarterback. You look
Maybe
at
Pittsburgh Panther.
Yeah, you look at Carolina very well. I mean,
Philadelphia might take a quarterback.
Philadelphia might see.
They talk about how they're not going to, but
Yeah,
they're
it's kinda-
visiting these guys.
it's funny.
They're using 30 visits
No,
on quarterbacks.
it's
Who did they bring
I
in?
forgot which one, but I saw one the other day where Philly is doing a 30
Mac,
visit.
they brought Corral in, didn't they?
Maybe it was
believe so.
Corral.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
they're talking about how Jalen Hurts is our guy while they're visiting
See,
with first round.
I kind of felt like that Philadelphia was doing this, like getting next year's one.
Wait until next year.
Wait till next year and kind of see that maybe that we don't want to take. But
Flying season, baby. They wanted to throw you off the trail.
it was Corral. So Corral, maybe it falls to the second for Philly. I don't know. But
I'm really.
I'll be interested to see what the Commanders do at 11.
We're going to get into that. I'm proud of this is a Brian Broaddus segment because we just did 23 minutes of radio and maybe mentioned the Cowboys for like 30 seconds.
This is what the draft show is all about.
You're damn right.
go teams.
But we're not ignoring your interests. We will get into your Cowboy questions right after this break.
This is Chad Hennings, former Cowboy and proud veteran of the United States Air Force. When my fellow military veterans choose VA, they receive life-changing benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran, you may be eligible for healthcare, education, and training benefits, a home loan guarantee, housing assistance, and more. Choose VA for the benefits you've earned. Visit choose.va.gov to learn more. That's choose.va.gov.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly.
This This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the draft show. I don't have it in front of me, but it is still tax season. You have like less than a week to do your taxes. Go to libertytax.com/Cowboys. Also, Beamer, if you can cut to Kyle's camera, we do the draft edition of Star Magazine is out. It's available digitally. It's available in pro shops and stores regionally. We got
Is the Cowboys' first round pick on that cover?
Which one do you think it is? If you had to guess, which one?
Traylon Burks, Kenyon Green.
In retrospect, I wish we had put Zion on the cover.
I do too.
But
Yeah.
that's okay. I just thought Trent McDuffie's purple and gold
The
really
color
popped.
looks great.
Yeah, the color looks great.
Every year I marvel of how, the content and stuff, we worked on it for a long time, I know, but I always marveled how great the cover was of that thing.
I love how you guys made Nakobe Dean the biggest guy.
Yeah,
real big
at
in the
5'11", 4.
We're trying to manifest some stuff.
And then you made the center the smallest guy, which you probably needed to pump him up a little bit.
302 at his pro day.
302, yeah.
302.
My man put
Shout
some
out.
bricks in his pocket.
Yeah, he had a
Either that or the guy that was weighing him likes him and put his foot too on the scale to kind of help him, which I would have done.
I'm fine. I'm choosing to ignore that he's not a 30 visit, and I'm just going to continue to pretend like the Cowboys will consider him. Maybe I'll be right.
We got really lucky 2 years ago with this draft guide because they put C.J. Henderson on the front, and then there was one other guy, I can't remember who it was.
Chasen?
Oh, it was Caleb on Chason, and then CeeDee Lamb was just a throw-in because he was CeeDee Lamb and because he was one of those top guys, and then of course he ended up falling.
I always argue with our bosses. I'm like, we need to be putting Cowboy targets on the cover. Nobody cares if Kyler Murray's on the cover of our draft magazine, but I think they threw in CD that year because he's an Oklahoma guy.
The cover's always so well done.
I was like,
It
why
really
are we
is.
putting CeeDee Lamb on this magazine? And sure enough, he's
Nick
did not
Egan's
expect
happy
that.
that Arkansas guy's on there. I know that for sure.
There's going to be a parade in this building.
Rob Phillips with the
Burks is
A&M
pick.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the pick has been three years in a row on the cover, right?
We're not terrible at this.
Yeah.
We're not the best, but we're not awful either.
We're not awful.
We've done it for a long time, though.
All right, we plugged the magazine. Beamer, hit me with the sound.
Twitter on the 20.
Where we get to your questions, which, Brian, you alluded to it. Ryan says, can we do division needs with the Giants holding 2 picks in the top 10, Commanders at 11, and now Philly has 2 picks instead of 3? There will be a lot of NFC East teams drafting ahead of the Cowboys.
I was on the Giants podcast the other day. They're talking about Sauce Gardner, and they're talking about a right tackle. So they're looking corner safety. I think you need skill in Philadelphia. There's some things about maybe getting rid of Rager. So maybe they're going to have to do some upgrading there. That's a shame. Rager needs to go someplace else and go be a star because I think he's capable of that. The Commanders, what about skill there, about wide receivers and stuff like that? Look like they're okay with Logan Thomas as a tight end. They've got a really quality running back. Maybe an offensive line was looking a little beat up at the end with them, but quarterback.
I see linebacker with them
I can
sometimes too.
Yeah.
Either Devin Lloyd or Nakobe.
Because they're aging there a little bit.
Yeah.
I think
they drafted the kid from Kentucky, though.
Jamin Davis. He was
Davis.
okay.
Yeah.
He had an okay.
I thought he was
going
to play a lot better for them. I really, really did.
He may still. He was just a rookie.
They're thinking about what they got safety. I think.
I
is
think
their
Washington's.
corner.
I think Washington's dream pick would be Kyle Hamilton because they didn't bring back Landon Collins
Because they need a
obviously.
linebacker, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but you laugh, but like Kyle Hamilton,
Safety number 2.
He can do it all.
He could just be a
Wait, who's safety number 1?
Oh, Dax Hill. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
I guess
Again, revisit notes and be like, screw the world. Here's what I think.
This sounds weird because
Welcome to my island.
One would be a top 11 pick. I'm just going.
Tom Hanks.
Kyle Hamilton just reminds me of Jaron Curse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Just in
Bigger
terms
body,
of what you would be asking
athleticism.
him to do. Do you think that's worth an
Isn't that
11 overall
amazing?
pick?
This time
He's
last
better
year,
than Jaron Curse, though.
I know. I mean, it's a weird comparison because
By a lot.
Jaron wasn't a 7th round pick. But
we just compared a guy that we absolutely hated to a guy that's going to likely
That's
be
not true. We're comparing a guy who played really good NFL box safety this year.
But this
to a
year,
prospect.
but we would have never in the
If Kyle
draft show.
Hamilton as a rookie does what Jaron Curse just did this year,
He'd be phenomenal.
That would be a big success.
Yeah, see, that's and I think the one strength that Curse has is his ability to tackle. I think that's the strength of Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton.
Erase tight ends and tackle.
Yeah, that's what he can do.
I think the Giants have to come out with a tackle in the first round.
Yeah.
I think
would
in
be
one of those
silly not
5
to.
or 7, they have to come out with one of those tackles. Washington, I wouldn't be surprised if they spin a wide receiver pick at 11.
I think that's possible too.
Yeah.
Go
I
and
think
get an
it's skill.
Olave or Wilson.
Rivera basically has just he's just got a neon sign that's like, I want the Buckeye receivers. I mean, if they don't go defense, I think it would be one of those two.
And then could you see Philly maybe taking an edge rusher in one of those 2 picks?
Oh, yeah.
Defensive tackle, their defensive line, they're trying to think about how to
Get ready for life.
Because they brought in
Post-Fletcher
Hassan
Cox,
Reddick.
Post Brandon Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah, name an edge rusher or a D tackle, and I wouldn't be surprised if Philly
Either one of
drafted
those
him.
go. Or offensive line.
Karlaftis could be there. Probably
Karlaftis,
one of those spots.
Devontae Wyatt. I think you said that in the last segment.
It's going to be their 2 picks.
I think I'd have to see Philly draft a linebacker in the first round to believe it. Linebacker with the Eagles is kind of like safety with the Cowboys. They just refuse.
Or wide receiver with the Packers.
Yeah, they just refuse to ever spend a big resource on it.
Are the Packers going to draft a wide receiver this
They're
year?
going to pick George Pickens.
You know, it's funny. They do like Pickens. They really, really do. I mean, and don't throw that. I mean, don't discount that at 28. I mean, talking to some people up there about them. Yeah.
This is not from Jeffrey Kavanaugh, but a different Jeffrey.
Sky
You could have just asked us.
He just it's not but you said
Jeffrey
it.
Sky.
Actually, he said Sky in the first segment too.
Yeah, he
It's
did.
fine. Sky Moore, good player.
Jeffrey Moore.
Over it. No, Charlie Kohler, the Iowa State tight end.
Like him.
He just doesn't. He just wants to know more.
You know what? I think the thing, it's really, really a fascinating draft, and I don't ever remember one where there was many tight ends that were 6'7". You know, Cole Turner from Nevada's a 6'7" guy. You know, Kohler's a 6'7" guy as well. I think the thing with him is when you deal with guys that big that get down the field, it makes it hard for defensive backs to defend them, especially when they extend. You know, I mean, they're hitting forearms and wrists and stuff as the ball's being caught. And I think that's where, you know, where you look at Kohler, I mean, for a 6'7" guy, he's 256. Body control, balance. I mean, he's really works well in small areas, and you could see him down in the red zone and stuff like that. Brock Purdy's kind of like. By the way, I think Brock Purdy's going to be here. He might not get drafted, but I think he's going to be here as a quarterback.
That's guy.
Oh,
that's Kellen Moore all over it.
But that's where you watch Brock Purdy throw the ball, and you're like going, oh, okay, you know, I see, you know, and that's where Charlie Kohler, I think, does a pretty good job. I think that when you talk about him, he presents himself as a really good target. And we could say the same about Dalton Schultz. I mean, that's what Dalton Schultz really does.
It's kind of what it reminded me of these bigger guys. I mean, he's way bigger than Dalton Schultz, and he presents that target, but he's got good hands. He can elevate. He can go up and get it in traffic. But he left a little bit to be desired in the blocking category. He's more of a
shield.
pass catcher.
Yeah, he's a shield wall guy is what he is. He's
but
not
at 6'7",
interested.
I kind of wanted some oomph to him. I wanted some power,
You know
some
what?
physicality. I didn't really see that.
There's going to be a day and age where we talk about these tight ends as not being blockers anymore.
They're just pass catchers.
I think it's already
different type
happening.
of receiver.
Yeah, we're just gonna say, nah.
The-
we're
like-
gonna put a tackle in there, go unbalanced. You know, we saw a guard play fullback last year. I mean, people are gonna figure out like these tight ends. If we put a tackle or a guard in and we run the ball, big deal. We got 6-7 yards, we move on. You know, I don't think there's going to be a day and age where we talk about tight ends totally being detached from being inline position.
Another thing
honestly, I think that's a thing right now. Sorry, Kyle.
Oh, no, you're good.
I think all NFL teams are like, we'll teach them how to get in the way.
I found myself talking to people far less about blocking tight ends than I have guys that block.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I talked to somebody on their coaching staff throughout the season because the Baylor connection and Big 12 stuff. They say that he was one of the best leaders from the moment he stepped on campus in that locker room. He was somebody that worked hard. He was first one in, last one out type of guy, leader on and off the field. So not only are you getting a good pass catcher, a guy who could develop as a blocker, but you're getting a guy who can make your football team better from a morale, from a locker room standpoint. And I think that's something valuable to throw in there as well.
Eric thinks we're way too low on Clemson corner Andrew Booth Jr. and wants to know how you feel about that.
We are pretty low on him, aren't
I
we?
got him as a second-round guy.
I was a second-round guy myself.
I got him and he could go in the first round because I think he's my fourth corner. So chill out, dude.
But a lot of people have
Aaron,
him. A
chill
lot
out,
of people
according to
have him
Jeff.
in like the top 20. People have him.
You
in
need to
that
sneak
top
him in that
25.
Sky Moore talk every once in a while. That might help him.
So this is like my corner rankings. My corner rankings is very much a trust the tape deal because like Trent McDuffie, I think that his tape is awesome.
Sure,
just pretty much across the board. He's a smaller guy. He's got shorter arms. Like some teams, I think won't pick Trent McDuffie. Period.
Yeah.
Because his arms are shorter than 30 inches, and that's why I think Andrew Booth could be the third corner off the board.
Mm-hmm.
It could be Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner, and then Andrew Booth in the top 20 because it's a premier position. I saw with him a guy that has, like, I would think Dan Quinn would really like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because I don't have the length in front of me, but he's
6 foot, just over 6 foot.
Right, but I mean arm length. I get
60 or 76.
wingspan.
Yeah, wingspan 31.
What's 76 divided by
31
2?
arms.
Plus a chest. There you go. That's what I
31
want.
arms.
That's what I
Sorry.
want. 31 is long enough.
I got
You know, it's me, LSU. I wouldn't do
I went to
anything.
LSU. I can't do that.
Out of my top 10, top 15 corners, he's the second longest arms, behind Sauce Gardner.
And he is a well-rounded player too. Like
Yeah.
you've seen him play press man, off man, zone. You see him do a little bit of everything. I think that he's a really good player at a premier position. He's going to be picked probably in the first round.
And don't forget, like, premium positions, if a team likes you, they do what they got to do. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Damon Arnett, top 20 pick. Terrible idea.
Oops.
A.J. Terrell also caught a lot of people off guard, speaking of Clemson, and he was arguably one of the best corners in the league last year.
Yeah, I mean, and he had to
Not
grow.
arguably, he
I'll
was
say
one
this
of the best
about
corners in
Booth.
the
And
league.
you don't see him get a lot of opportunities. I mean, it's like the teams in the ACC are like, we're really not interested in throwing the ball his direction. I will say this though about the kid though, and I know his job is to cover, but he's a 50-50 tackler at best.
He'll miss some tackles.
Yeah, he's a 50-50 tackler.
A lot of
at best.
lungy diving kind of stuff.
Yeah. So if you're into that, like all of a sudden they throw the ball and he's got to go make a tackle to get a guy on the ground, just know that ball might go another 12 yards down the field, or it might be tackled right there at the spot.
Have your safety ready.
And for a guy who gave up like 62% completion when they threw his direction, I mean, he gave up 62% completion percentage. Didn't look like he was sticky on him either. So if he can't tackle and he's not sticky on the corner or sticky on a wide receiver, then you're going to have some issues, I think.
Noah Igbenogany was another corner who went a lot higher than people were maybe talking about. So, yeah, I mean,
He was like a fourth round grade that went like in the second, right?
He either went early 2 or he might have gone 1.
I think he
it was
went
Miami.
1.
Did he go 1?
I think he went, and we talked about him as like a top 80 type of guy, and he went in the first round.
I don't think any of us have Booth outside of the second round, though.
No,
right?
he's second round on my board.
That's where I'm right there with you. So we don't talk about him, but we're not necessarily low on him. Is
Right.
probably the answer to the
We
question.
probably just haven't talked about all that many corners all that often because I think Kyer Elam at Florida is also
I like
a guy
him
that Dan
too.
Quinn might like.
I kind of like the guy Gordon at Washington a little bit better than Booth.
Kyler Gordon.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. I think corner is one of those positions where you're always going to draft the best player available, but unless you love the corner that much, there's just other things you need to do. Like unless a guy that you had graded at the top of the board who you never thought would fall, similar to a CD Lamb, falls to you, I just think you have other things you need to address.
Are we
Stingley to 24?
Are we
sure.
discounting the
It's fine.
fact that the Cowboys could pick a corner at 24? Are we discounting that enough?
I just did. Yeah, I just did.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like
Unless it's somebody that you're absolutely head over heels in love with,
forget about it.
It would
not
have
forget
to
about it. I just think there are other things you need to do.
It would have to be somebody that they are very confident as soon as they call his name
Will
that
be a
Kelvin
starter.
Joseph is riding the bench or
Yeah.
learning to play the nickel.
That's basically
big thing,
Or
too.
you're,
basically
or you're
saying,
trading Brown. Or,
Sure.
or
Which
cutting
could
Lewis
happen.
or something like that, yeah.
but even still, like, and not to say Kelvin can't play in the slot, but that's not why they drafted him.
I think Kelvin plays outside and Brown kicks inside and take Jordan Lewis off the field. That's what I would do.
What if you drafted a guy at 24?
If you drafted a guy at 24, then I'd plug and play that kid, the drafted player.
And then what do you do?
And then kick Brown inside to play nickel.
And
Was
then
Kelvin Joseph?
Kelvin Joseph and
Kelvin
Jordan Lewis.
Joseph better get the attention that, wait, I
figure it
need
out.
to, I better figure this out.
And that's why, unless it is, and it doesn't have to be Stingley, but unless it is like a Stingley type guy that you just never thought would be there, drafting him is basically saying, Kelvin Joseph might have to ride the bench in his second year, and I don't think they want to do
I don't
that.
think Dan-
Trent McDuffie.
Yeah.
True.
But I don't think this team. My guess is this team's not taking the short arm.
I think the argument Dan Quinn will protect that pick because he went to Lexington and put his name on that player. That's why I think that you won't see them draft a corner like that.
Never rule anything out completely, but I would be pretty shocked.
Yeah.
I would be pretty surprised.
If he's going to put his name on somebody in this draft, Sam Williams, Ole Miss defensive end.
I think we're already seeing that.
Yeah.
One last one before we go. Somebody named OEGL. We talked about Abraham Lucas. Yeah, I don't know if that's a name or what. We talked about Abraham Lucas, the Washington State tackle. Mm-hmm. Could he play guard? Do you think that is doable?
Well, I think that's a tough projection because he was a good tackle, and Washington State does the thing where their run blocking is always from a pass set.
Yeah, 2-point stance.
That's my question about him as a tackle. Is I'm like, man, he looks like a really smooth and good pass protector. What's he going to give you in the run game? And now you want to project him into the spot where I need him to kind of move people in there. Maybe he could. The thought hadn't crossed my mind.
You know what, Jeff? In my notes, and maybe I'm hitting the pipe, but the thing is, I think with the crack pipe.
I was going to say, well, maybe back in your college days.
Yeah, it's probably sounded bad anyway. Sorry about that, folks. I watched the USC and Washington games with this guy, and I kind of thought he was a physical drive blocker. I thought that was something that he was a little bit better as a drive blocker. Sometimes you're right with those Washington State guys, you don't see it. I mean, look what's happened to that guy in Philadelphia. Dillard, he's just completely fallen off the map. But I didn't think that he was. I didn't think that it was like I say that I thought the run blocking was a little bit better than maybe his pass blocking. Because he gets over the tops of his feet a little bit, but you don't see him on the ground and stuff like that. So maybe that's a hope. He's 6'6", he's 315, probably a little bit taller for what you want for a guard.
Yep.
But I don't know, because I learned yesterday, I didn't know this, Fortner, my guy for Kentucky that I absolutely love, the center, I learned he played guard at Kentucky. He was a converted guard to center.
The year before, yeah.
So now everybody's like, I'm like, I've never seen him. I've only seen him play center. He played guard. So if people are saying, well, if you draft a guy like that, could he play guard? Yeah. I mean, he's a tough guy. You watch him play against Jordan Davis and guys like that. He gets pushed back, but he's not getting run over. That was my hope right there.
The thing about Lucas is it's funny because I never thought about moving him to guard, kind of along the same lines of you, Brian, but I looked at maybe swinging him to the right side because he played the left tackle spot. Maybe swing candidate. Because he has so much experience. He's good in his pass block. He's very balanced. And I didn't see a whole lot of the hand strength that you would necessarily have to be that powerful drive blocker. But, hey, like you said, maybe I'm wrong.
You know what? The thing about it is, I mean, you watch him play against Jackson against USC, and everybody's talking about Jackson as the second coming of Reggie White. And so, I mean, this guy's holding up against him.
I thought he did great against him.
I kind of like – I mean, I like this guy. This is one of those – when he gets picked, I'll be like, there you go. There's another smart team. They know what they're doing with this kid.
I just love the question. This is
third round?
No, I have him in the second.
Ooh.
I have him in the second.
This is the time of year for creative problem solving where you say, oh, maybe I don't love my options at guard in the second round, but what about this tackle that I could move? I appreciate it. We got Tell Me More coming up after this break. We appreciate your questions as always. We'll be right back after this.
Come on, Dave.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
At Smoothie King, we are blending goodness to fuel your greatness. Every blend is crafted to help you achieve your health and fitness goals. Smoothie King uses only whole fruits and organic veggies. You'll never find sugary syrups or artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. And unlike some other smoothie places, there are 0 grams of added sugar in many of our blends. Smoothie King is proud to be the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys. Place your order in the app or online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
If you have been thinking about weight loss surgery, My Bariatric Solutions has made it easier for you to schedule your initial consultation from the safety, comfort, and convenience of your own home. You'll meet one-on-one with the bariatric surgeon over a private and secure video call. You'll learn everything you need to know about the options available and which procedure is best for you. If you've been considering weight loss surgery and are ready to take the first step, call My Bariatric Solutions today at 844-326-6266. That's 844-326-6266, or go to mybariatricsolutions.com.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Draft Show, presented by your friends at Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Try to open this segment better than I closed the last one. One of my worst dismounts of the year, I think. I really love that this is back, though, guys. I've been enjoying Tell Me More. I already feel like a smarter draft fan. I hope the listeners will agree. So I'm just going to get into it. We got 15 minutes to cover 5 new guys. Good luck. No, we're going to go over, and that's okay. Kyle's got the next show anyway. They're not on.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We can run into it.
We'll go over. But, all right, we're going to hop right into it. We talked about this guy in the break. Y'all seem to like him. Tell me more about Dane Belton, the safety out of Iowa.
Yeah, I'm glad that somebody wanted to do Dane Belton for Tell Me More, because I'm about tired of watching guys that aren't draftable.
Rude.
Dane Belton is a good player. Like, first, you look up, who is he? Give me his measurables. What are the numbers? And it's like, 5 interceptions, 7 passes defended. Like, we got some ball production here. All right, what does he do? He plays what at Iowa they call the cash spot, which is Daxton Hill at Michigan.
Yeah.
Where if there are 2 receivers, he'll play safety. If there's 3, he'll play nickel. If a guy motions away, he'll go down to the edge and go chase the quarterback. So he was clearly their guy to do all those different things. And as a playing forward safety, especially in zone or covering tight ends or running backs, Dane Belton can play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I hadn't heard his name before, and it was like, hey, we're going to do Tell Me More about Dane Belton, I was like, sweet, let me go watch this jobber. I think this jobber's a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a top 100 player. I think he's good.
Yeah, I think Jeff's got him nailed. I think the thing that's the most impressive thing about him is his awareness and vision.
Yep.
Because that's where I think that he is going to make a living. And, when you start to talk about football intelligence and things like that, I think this Dane Belton falls into that. He might not be one of those guys that when you watch him tackle, there's a little bit of that lunge and go low, but I don't think he's afraid to do it. I just think that there's going to be some times where he's going to have to kind of make a tackle, and I just hope he does. But the vision, the awareness, the ball skills, all those things are top shelf.
I love his awareness and his positioning because he always seems to be in the right spot. It's kind of like what we talked about with Verone McKinley, the Oregon safety that we had Tell Me More last week. But he's not as quick to get there, but he's in that same area, that same mindset with the football IQ, the play recognition. He can come down in the box. He can stop the run. He's a decent tackler. And I say decent because there are some fundamental sides of his tackling ability.
Just the lunging part of it, but he'll hit you.
Yeah, come across the side. He's not afraid to hit, which is something that, of course, you look at for some of these later round safeties. He will come up and plug a hole if he needs to. Not as rangy as some of those top guys up in the draft, and he's got some okay athletic testing numbers. But I like his size. I like his demeanor, and his football IQ is certainly something you see on tape.
It's funny because when I think about safeties now that Dan Quinn is here, I just think about the fact that they drafted Izzy McQuamu.
Yeah,
I know.
6'7" or
So
however.
big.
But
who's the tallest safety? We got to find him.
Having said that,
Here, I got you.
Belton is 6'1.5" with 31-inch arms. I mean, that seems plenty.
Yeah,
long
he's full
enough to
size
me.
and he can run.
Yeah,
he can run.
So I don't think you discount him because of that.
Nope.
This might be a typo, but I have JT Woods as the top safety. Let me double check
just
that.
Pencil him down.
Tallest?
Yeah, tallest.
6'3", 6'4". What are we looking at?
45-inch arms.
He's definitely not 6'10".
I think I have a typo.
It's probably 6'0", 10.
Maybe.
Can he tie his shoe standing up?
He can run really fast. He was the one that ran like a 4.27 unofficial at the combine.
Oh, yeah, Baylor people run fast. He's the Baylor guy,
tracked
right?
him, yep.
Tell me if this sounds appealing to the Dallas Cowboys. Talented LSU player transfers to Kentucky, finishes his career there. Tell me more about Dare Rosenthal.
Dare Rosenthal is an offensive tackle, and what's interesting about Rosenthal,
it's not a great way to jump this thing off.
I know
6'7", plays really upright, doesn't get a lot of push in the run game. Lateral ability is going to cost him against quick pass rushers. Leans forward when he's engaged, so he doesn't sustain well. He's a pretty good college player. Don't see NFL traits.
Yeah, this guy, he does. I mean,
I love your direct attitudes.
I was trying to get there, and I said he looks super awkward when he has to block due to his lack of power and strength. Again, you know me, I have problems with those guys. He finds himself on the ground more than you like due to his inability to keep his balance. I could see where a very good foot athlete and some movement is impressive, but he gets caught like he's in a revolving door. He blocks and then he gets spun around and then he gets thrown on the ground. And to me, he was a starting left tackle at Kentucky, and it's funny because they've got some big old guys. And at 6'7", 290, he looks just super thin out there. But he's engaged and then he'll lose it. And so, I mean, that's the thing that you have to worry about. But again, take my word for it, though. When a guy doesn't have any power, he's going to probably be an all-pro because this guy is really, really long, and I don't think he's very, very strong.
And he doesn't
Maybe
look
he gave
balanced
the power
either.
to their right tackle.
Yeah.
Darian Kennard.
There's some
monster.
yeah, exactly. That's an offensive line that you watch them, they can move people and
sets up for those gadget guys
man,
behind him.
This
really
guy,
well.
They move on the ball, man.
Yeah, everybody's moving and he's on the ground is what he's at.
You said he has bad balance, Kyle?
Yeah, I didn't really like the balance, and the pass sets were something that looked at. I liked his demeanor. I mean, he always was really aggressive, and he was kind of getting in your face and chippy type of player, but I don't necessarily see a good mover along with the rest of his offensive line, and he just kind of looks like he's just not laboring because he almost just looks like he's uncoordinated at the time.
Well, it's funny. I was just going through my notes here. I go, he wasn't terrible in Georgia game dealing with their edge, but you always felt like he was on the verge of disaster.
Yeah, he was about to fall over.
He kind of was blocking Trayvon Walker.
He was.
But when you put number 4 across from him,
it was always like, oh, Jim.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, and then, man, it was one of those plays. Yeah.
So you're telling me that's not Kelvin Joseph 2.0?
No,
not quite.
Not at all.
This is a name that I think raised eyebrows all over the place when he was connected to the Cowboys, just because, I'll be honest, I had never heard of him. Tell me more about Malik Davis, the running back out of Florida.
Yeah, and this is a hard study. It really, really is. And
Did you go find him?
Yeah, because he plays in that rotating system. You're absolutely right. He was generally the starter though, but you could tell he's not explosive. He's not a quick foot athlete. He catches the ball well, but he's an exceptional pass blocker. He really, really has a good feel and awareness how. And again, that's a running back. If I was talking about a guard, I think you'd be really, really happy. But this is a running back, and there were several snaps where he was able to pick up this guy and save his quarterback from being hit. And I think there was some squareness to his game. There's some toughness there. He had a touchdown in the Alabama game where he made the safety miss, but he's really not that elusive. He's really steady. He's a straight-ahead runner and ball carrier. He's not going to make many cuts. He'll run hard. He'll finish. But the whole thing is like his pass blocking and his catching ability is the way that that he's going to try and make in this league. They did put him out wide in the Georgia game, and they had a pick 6 off it. They threw the ball his direction, and he came back for the ball, and they hammered it and took it back. So, we'll see. 30 visit for Dallas. Wasn't invited to the combine, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so they're probably getting a physical on him. That time speed is a 4.64, by the way. Tends to play that way.
These are some of the totals that he had this year running the football. 14 carries, 104 yards. That was his best game of the year. That was against Florida Atlantic out of Conference USA.
Give him the business.
Against South Florida, 7 of 22. Alabama, he went 10 of 86, which was his second best game.
Yeah, they ran the ball well. Florida did that game overall.
Two long ones, or long-ish.
45 yards against Tennessee, 22 against Kentucky. LSU, he had 8 yards on 4 carries, a long of 7. So that means 3 of his carries to combine for 1
Didn't we have like 5,000
yard.
yards rushing against Florida that day?
Sure did.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically you're looking at the stats, you're looking at the film, and whenever he's in the ball game, they're throwing, and they're maybe going to throw it to him out of the backfield. If they're going to run the football, Damon Pierce is in the backfield. I mean, they go to Damian Pierce and let him kind of show the explosiveness. And so, fullback? I mean, is he in that conversation? He's
5'10",
not that big,
202,
though.
right?
Yeah, he's like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
202.
You got to bulk it up if you're going to do something like that.
I just
Dave,
think
he plays running back.
he sure does.
Yeah, so he just kind of, if you block, he'll run. If you don't, he won't. Kind of a running back, you know?
Which I do think it. This and maybe it's not this guy. Like I'm not gonna focus too much on a day 3.
They'll take a 5th to 6th round runner.
No, but
I bet.
dude, I wrote about this yesterday. Like their track record over the last decade is they let it get deep into day 3. I mean,
See, that looks good.
not counting Ezekiel Elliott, who they obviously drafted with a very specific plan in place that ironically never came to fruition. But they drafted Joseph Randle in the 5th round. They drafted Darius Jackson in the 6th. They drafted Bo Scarborough in the 7th. They drafted Mike Weber in the 7th. Like it, and Tony Pollard was day 3 as well, but a 4th round pick. But it's going to be a day 3 guy. Like obviously,
I wouldn't be surprised.
these are the types of prospects you're talking
There
about.
are other
actually-
day 3 guys.
That's
though.
okay. It might be that guy.
Yeah.
That's again, like especially the later you get in the draft, the less I personally care about the names on the list.
You could take one, but I just want to be on record. I kind of like Rico Dowdle.
He was pretty
I do
shifty
too.
as a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Rico Dowdle's
I like
not a
him.
bad player.
I just wonder.
And he was an undrafted guy. Yeah.
On the cheap.
I don't want to speak out of turn because
Malik Davis
I
will be
don't
an
know,
undrafted
but
guy too.
Hip injuries scare me. Well, but I mean, by all indications, I think he's doing fine. Shewo Olanalua as well, by the way. Tell me more about Amari Barno, the edge rusher out of Virginia Tech.
Oh, you want the concise one, Brian? Or
Go
you
ahead.
want to go through all the notes?
You going to tell me the Ron Wolf he can't play?
No.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
going to tell you can't play. I'm going to kind of tell you can't play.
I was about to say, I'm
Amari
on that one.
Barno is 6'4.5", 246 pounds, and my guy runs a 4.36.
Mm-hmm.
That's Amari Barno, and that's the scouting report. I think he is his measurables, and that's good enough to be drafted. If you are 6'4.5" with long arms and you run a 4.36, that is enough that a coaching staff is going to pick you. I don't think that the tape is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are moments where I don't forget which team. I can just look at it. North Carolina game.
Yep.
They're
Yeah.
running outside to the right, and it's
Yeah.
just this giant dude that when he gets off a block, makes a tackle for loss. The tackle radius looks big because he's so long. I think he's a limited player, but 6'5", running a 4.36, you're getting drafted.
It's funny. My exact scouting report: long and lanky edge rusher, looks skinny for the position, but his speed off the edge helps him with that. He's got an explosive first step, which helps him gain leverage over some stronger offensive linemen. But he's sloppy in his footwork and in his form. Lots of wasted body movement and not a ton of awareness with what's happening in the backfield. But he takes good angles whenever he has to get to the outside.
He might not. He might just be running a 4.3, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. Maybe you're right.
Physically, this is a great-looking player that doesn't play like one.
Yep. With a
That's-
professional
that's-
coach, maybe.
6'4.5",
No, I mean-
246, runs a 4.3.
I personally think it's more fun when it's a flawed player. It's
Yeah,
just I
he is
enjoy
flawed.
the
His
conversation.
length,
a little more.
is impressive, but again, he just doesn't have the power. There's snaps where he tends to lose the ball, and the awareness, and I think that shows because he gets too tied up with the blocker, and he needs to get his hands quicker and better used to free himself. I mean, he doesn't always win off the edge. And I think that's a problem for him. So, to me, I mean, I watched the Notre Dame game. I had Notre Dame, North Carolina, Boston College. I watched 3 games of this guy, and I was like, please show me more than you're just good looking. Please show me more than you're more than, and Notre Dame game, I thought he played better, but the other ones, I felt like they blocked him pretty well.
Is this a guy that somebody reaches on? Somebody looks at him and says, you know what? I can fix him.
If he ran a better 3-cone, yeah.
So he comes out, he runs the straight line speed, and then he goes to the 3-cone and just completely lets that one fly.
Oh, you don't bend as well as somebody who runs like you should.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
4.45.
I'm trying to, that was a short shuttle?
That was his shuttle.
Okay, yeah.
I don't
so-
have his 3-cone from his pro day yet.
Which means that he probably didn't run it.
Let me
Man,
see.
for a
I've got those ATP sheets. Let me see if I can tell you what he did. Just talk among yourselves. while
Where
we're
do you
doing that.
guys have him graded?
6th round.
5th.
Yeah, 5th.
Yeah.
Late draft pick that you were throwing after his frame
Well, the traits.
speed.
It's traits. It's speed.
know what?
That's where you're at.
If
Let's-
you're in?
I'm not saying I'm in, but if you're gonna
Sounded like it.
If you're gonna do that, that's the position where you should.
Yeah.
You should absolutely like if you're just like, this guy is not great, but maybe he'll turn into something. At edge rusher, hell yeah.
My pass rusher that I want to take a maybe even a 3rd or 4th round flyer on. And maybe somebody else is going to like his tape a lot better than I do. But Brandon Smith, the Penn State linebacker.
We talked about him last week. Wish you were here.
Oh, because I think that he looks like he's
talk
never
about
played
him, Jeff.
I just think he looks like he's never played football before, and he has no idea what he's doing.
That's not a late flyer, though.
But, well, I use
Somebody's
the
going
word
to take
flyer
him in the
because
3rd.
Okay, because if they didn't, and you let me use a day 3 pick in the 4th round, I would pick a linebacker, and I would tell him, hey, guess what? You're about to learn how to play edge. You're going to go after the quarterback. You're big, you're strong, you're long, you're athletic. You don't look like you know what you're doing back there.
The irony,
step up here.
The
Come
irony
up here
that
and
it
have
would
fun.
be a linebacker from Penn State, of all places, that you would be asking to do that.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's there at 129. If he is, though, we could have that conversation because I like that idea with him because he's so out of control and you don't want him in space.
6'3" and
Put
a
him
half,
up there.
250 pounds, 34.5-inch arms, and runs a 4.52.
I got to say, man, I don't like the idea of using a 4th round pick on a guy that you got to teach how to play football. That sounds kind
I
of
don't got to teach him how to play football. I just got to teach him how to whoop that dude in front of you.
Which he could.
Playing edge is not really football.
Playing
It's just kinda
downhill
whooping
is
dude.
his best trait.
I'll let DeMarcus Lawrence know.
His
Got it,
shuttle,
Brian?
his shuttle was a 4.40 and a 4.36 from Pro Day is what they have him at.
For Barno?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think I'm looking at the right thing. 10-11 on the Pro. They have him projected, and I get these sheets from the Pro Days. The league projects this guy as a 2nd-round player.
The league's high.
I mean, they're talking about this guy as a 2nd-round player.
Does it have a 3-cone on there?
I don't think he ran it.
I got to make sure. No, he doesn't. He does not have the 3-cone. No.
So
You get to make up whatever you want.
We're
9
thinking
seconds.
day 3.
Yes.
Pretty
Yes.
firmly.
Yes.
Okay. We'll wrap this up. We are going over time. I don't care at all. One last one. Samori Toure, the Nebraska receiver. What do you got?
Brian has his tape. I don't.
Super productive, Brian. I mean, he was a transfer from the FCS to the
Yeah,
FBS.
Montana.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Part of the Grizz.
Oh, we moved up the ranks?
Yeah. He was kind of that big slot role for them, kind of went back and forth, played outside, played a little bit inside. Good tape. I mean, he actually showed out pretty well against the bigger teams like the Michigans and the Ohio States.
Yeah, he did. Ohio State, Northwestern. I mean, Northwestern, he killed him. He set a playoff record for Montana against Southwest Louisiana for yards.
Nice.
And he's got outstanding time speed. He's 6'1", he's 191, 4.42 is his speed. You can see a guy that could really, really get up the field when he has free access, but there's snaps where you see even like the double moves and stuff can get him open. I thought he tracked the ball pretty well. The body control was good. He wasn't blessed with the best passers. But he always have found a way to adjust to the ball, and I thought that was pretty impressive. He could catch the ball on the move. He could take it inside. I thought he was a good finisher, but there's some toughness as a ball carrier as well, and they use him on some option stuff like that. I'm looking right now where I put him on this board or on my board, and I had him in the 5th round is what I had him in.
I have him as my highest graded non-combine invite. And so I have him in the 4th, like late 4th. But I'm right there with you. I like some of the stuff he does. He's a good route runner, great hands. Honestly, I think his hands are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, by phenomenal terms, I'm not talking top 100 hands, but he's got good hands, and he's somebody that I think could be a perfect developmental receiver. He's somebody that will come in, he'll play on special teams, he'll be physical, he'll do a bunch of things for you on the back end, kind of like a Noah Brown, where he will do the fundamental side of things, and then he'll come in and maybe make a flash play here and there.
I'd rather have the tech guy that we talked about last week.
In Zukama?
Yeah.
I got his name right.
Yeah, I would rather have him than I would this guy.
I just say with 9 picks, I love the
him higher,
idea.
too.
Yeah.
I would love to double up at receiver, just like they did with Gallup and Cedric Wilson. You spend a 5th or 6th round pick on a receiver, he's not going to be anything meaningful for you right away, but you see the value in what developing a guy like that can do. Any final thoughts? Anybody?
I was just looking because I haven't really gotten down to 6th round receivers, but when you're saying that, I was like, sure, give me George Pickens and then give me Wan'Dale Robinson. Let's just have a lot of fun.
I don't know.
I keep seeing
like
Rodell high,
I think
too.
he's a higher pick than that,
Is he?
probably.
I think you're looking
him in the
more of
4th
like a Dontario Drummond out of Miami, Ohio, or like a Reggie Roberson out of SMU. Maybe those guys are the later guys.
Give me a 2 and a 5. And I know Simi Fajoko's here as well. I understand that, but I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine continuing to churn the depth at that position. Gentlemen, this was really fun, as always.
Yeah, thank you.
The fastest hour in radio.
Let's see how you end it.
Fortunately, we'll be back on Thursday. You're not going to throw me off my game. You did.
Script.
For Jeff, Brian, and Kyle, I'm Dave. This has been The Draft Show. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks for listening.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!